Hello, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Eva Tao, and I want to give you a little bit of my background, why you actually see me on your platform, and what information I have to share, and what benefits I have to give to all of your platforms. So, first of all, let me start with this. I treat human skin over 40 years. I am probably the number one black skin expert in the United States. I treat black skin over 40 years before I came to the United States. And when I talk about black skin, I mean black skin, not brown skin. I mean African skin. African skin is not brown. American black skin is brown. So there's a difference. So I have tremendous experience with really black skin, with really dark skin. And there is a humongous difference between white skin and black skin as far as treatments go. But in order for me to go further and explain you what I do, because I'm not trying to sell you, I'm trying to give you a ton of information that I have, and this is why you see me on your platform. I have a daughter. My daughter is 48. My daughter suffered from PCOS, endometriosis, Hashimoto disease, hormonal imbalance, thyroid conditions. And this started when she was 14. As a mother of the only child, I did everything in my power to help my daughter. My daughter had stage 4 endometriosis. And this is very important to my story that I'm going to tell you and I'm going to share with you. So, and this pertains to black women and dark women and Hispanic women. One of the reasons that I have so much experience in treating black skin, so for unwanted hair, so for discoloration, so for skin problem and skin issues, is because my daughter went through this, and as the only child that I have, I did everything in my power to help her. So to start with, most of you that have this condition will know if you start with PCOS, you know you have irregular periods. You know that you are gaining weight. You know that you are getting excessive hair growth. My daughter was hairy from her forehead to her toes. And for a 14-year-old, 15, 16, 17-year young girl, this is a horrendous situation because what child or what teenager wants to be hairy and what teenager wants to gain weight? And it's a vicious cycle. And all of you that suffer from it, you know that it's a vicious cycle because once you start getting hair and you start gaining weight, it just goes in a spiral down. Suffice to say that I did everything in my power to find help and treatments. And please do understand, PCOS 35 years ago, when a woman would come, first of all, they didn't know what PCOS is. Secondly, if you would come to a doctor and he would know what PCOS or anything similar, they would say, I have children and everything will be okay. They poo-pooed women with this condition. So I researched, and eventually I found in Atlanta a specialist. They specialized because her PCOS went then to endometriosis. They specialized with PCOS, endometriosis, reproductive organs. There were only 2 doctors at the time, let's go back 30 years ago in America, and one was in Atlanta. Since I live in Miami, it was the closest place to me. I flew to see him, and that relationship went on for 18 years, 20 years. I would fly to Atlanta from Miami sometimes twice a year because my daughter's endometriosis was so bad, and any woman that has it or any nurse or any doctor that watches what I'm saying, when you go to stage 4 endometriosis, you know that it is a disaster. Why is it a disaster? Because the disease is so debilitating. Forget about the gain weight, that she gained over 100 pounds. Forget about the fact that she's hairy from top to bottom. But the pain, the excruciating pain, to those of you who don't know, in layman language I will explain this. When you get PCOS, it's the lining, when you get endometriosis. So the womb inside has a lining. There's a genetic defect. That lining, instead staying inside the uterus, inside the womb, comes out. And in plain language, I can only explain it that it looks like a Play-Doh, and the cells come out. They create like a line, and they attach itself and wrap themselves around. It can wrap itself around your tube, around your ovary, around your appendix, around your gallbladder. It can wrap itself anywhere. Excuse the background of my dogs. It can wrap itself anywhere, and then it wraps itself one point, and then it goes to the other point. And now let's say from ovary to your spine, from ovary to your tube, from ovary to the other ovary. So it just goes and goes. And when you get your period and your ovaries swell, and it's wrapped around and it's choked because it's wrapped around, because that's exactly what endometriosis does. The pain is excruciating. And I dealt with my child with this, and I can tell you that for a better part of 25 years, every period that she got, I was injecting her with morphine because the pain was excruciating. And when conditions became really, really bad, that it was unbearable to take, we would always fly to Atlanta. They would do a vaginal ultrasound. They would see the expansion, whatever happened. And in the process of her life, she has had 18 surgeries, of which 14 were done in Georgia. She lost 70% of all her reproductive organs and other organs in her body, because when endometriosis stage 4, it's worse than cancer because there is no cure. Because all you do is when it attacks you, when it attaches itself, you have to go and cut the organ. So whether it was the appendix, whether it was a gallbladder, whether it was a colon, everything had to be cut, eliminated, repaired. It was a horrendous situation. The scar tissue from all the surgeries is another matter altogether that really, really hurts. And any woman will understand that suffers from this, that having intercourse when you had so many surgeries is nearly impossible. So of course, she cannot have any children. She never had any children, even though they tried to preserve her uterus, and they would always cut another piece until nothing was left. That didn't work. Eventually 4 years ago, when she was 44, it was the final step. Then removed the rest of the uterus that was left, and that's it. So she had a full hysterectomy. A full hysterectomy comes with a lot of problems as well, because then you go in early menopause. Very few doctors know how to treat and what bioidentical hormones to give to women. To eliminate all the side effects from early menopause, forget about regular menopause. And here I come into the play. Why I'm talking to you, why it's in your group, and why it's to Black people, and why I always say that in the Deep South, Black women have no voice. So remember, even though I live in Miami, and Miami is more than the Deep South, but Miami is a cosmopolitan city. But Alabama is not, Mississippi is not, Tennessee is not, rural Georgia is not, North Carolina is not, South Carolina is not, Virginia is not. Ladies, just listen to me. I have been around, and I have checked everything around. There is no voice for Black women in rural areas and in the Deep South. And so, as I was in the process of taking care of my daughter for 30 years, I also have my business, I have my clinic, and because my daughter's father was dark, so my daughter had darker skin, I, as a mother, had to make everything possible to alleviate some of her problems, some of her embarrassments, and that is doing laser hair removal. And so the first laser hair removal for dark skin I purchased 30 years ago, and it was for my only child. And it's the YAG laser. And I lasered my daughter because at least I could alleviate some of her problems. I couldn't get rid of the disease. I couldn't help her with her weight gain. There was nothing I could do, because the hormones are the ones that actually causing it. No million diets, million liposuction makes no difference. The weight is there, and it's directly related to PCOS and endometriosis. But the hair was one thing that I could do for my daughter. And as I say, the first laser that came out, YAG laser I bought for my child, for my only daughter, for my only child. And I lasered her from top to bottom. And here I come into the picture why I am talking to you. And I need to explain myself. I have a YouTube channel. So I had a YouTube channel for 12 years that was hijacked last year. On that YouTube channel, I had over 75 million people that watched, and it was many black people all over the world that watched what I have to say about black skin, because my skincare clinics treat and specialize in black skin, whether it is for unwanted hair, whether it's for discoloration, whether it is for skin issues. This is what I do. And so I had a very, very famous and popular channel that a year and a half ago was in March 1st, was destroyed, and I would never get the channel back. Although there is a copy of the channel on YouTube, but for obvious reasons, because I spoke to minorities, because I advocated for dark skin, for black people, the channel had to be eliminated because I became a powerhouse. And that didn't sit right with a lot of people, and so the channel had to be eliminated. That channel was eliminated, but in the process, because I am a fighter, I will tell you this, that over the years that channel was in existence, and exactly as I speak to you, I spoke on YouTube. So many women contacted me and said, Miss Eva, please help me. What shall I do? I live in Tennessee, I live in South Carolina, North Carolina, whatever it is. And the only solution is either find somebody that uses YAG laser because you have PCOS, endometriosis, unwanted hair, or come to see me. For majority of black women that live in the deep South, that was nearly impossible for two reasons. First of all, it's very expensive. Flying to Miami is not cheap, or to Fort Lauderdale. Secondly, when you do laser hair removal, when you have PCOS, when you have hormonal imbalances, you don't require only 12 treatments. You require many more treatments because we are fighting nature. We are fighting hormones. So this nearly became impossible. And so I will share with you, these are personal stories that I need you to know who I am. I'm not selling you, I'm telling you who I am and why I'm talking to you, specifically to you. On one day, 8 years ago, I received 3 phone calls in my Bay Harbor, Miami Beach clinic. There was a phone call at 1 o'clock from a black woman from Atlanta. And the question was, oh, Miss Eva, do you have a place in Georgia anywhere or anywhere else? I said, I'm so sorry, only in Miami Beach. She said, thank you. Is that the conversation ended? Then about 3 or 4 o'clock, I got another phone call, but it was from a woman from Georgia somewhere. And that never happened, that in one day I would receive 2 phone calls from 2 women in Georgia. It was the same question, and I didn't have a solution, except I have a clinic in Miami. And my clinic in Miami, in Bay Harbor, Miami Beach, is over 40 years. And at 7 p.m., I received the 3rd phone call. 3rd black woman from Atlanta. It was the same question. This never happened in my life. I finished the conversation. I sat in my office. I looked up to the sky. God is my witness, I don't lie to you. And I said, okay, Mom. My mom obviously was deceased. I said, I got it. You're sending me a message. I'm very spiritual, not religious. I'm very spiritual. You're sending me a message. 3 black women from Atlanta and from Georgia are calling me on the same day. You are letting me know that you want me to go and help black women in the South. And this is how the movement happened, that I decided, I was thinking afterwards, I said, how am I doing it? Because I'm the only one person, and I decided to open a clinic in Georgia. I work, I live from my work. I'm not a very rich person. I don't cheat, I don't steal. So I only have what I have, and I can only go limitedly by what I can afford. And so I was thinking, and so eventually I decided to fly to Atlanta. And I had an affinity because Dr. Kenny Sinervo, who was my daughter's surgeon, people were always kind to me in Georgia. So I said, okay, I can do this. And I flew to Georgia 5 times to find a place. I couldn't afford a place in Atlanta proper, but I could afford a place in the suburb of Metro Atlanta. And so I eventually found a piece of property, and it was over 7 years ago, and people started to buy properties, because properties in Georgia, big land, and prices were very reasonable. But again, I have limited funds. I can only do what I can do. And so in the process of 5 years, of my 5 trips, I, on 3 occasions, flew to see the house that I made a bet on, and I always lost to somebody else who made a higher bid. And I found I had a very good realtor, and this is how I found the property in Noonan. I did research and I found out Peachtree City, and then everybody said, oh, well, Peachtree City is more expensive, but only 6 miles away from Peachtree City, you have Noonan. And it's by 40% cheaper. And so eventually I found a piece of property, and I thought, okay, I will make an offer. And I made an offer at 10 o'clock at night. And I lost it by 5 a.m. There were 7 offers. So I had a very lovely realtor, and she called me and she said, Eva, because I had specific demands of what I wanted. She said, I found something for you. It's maybe not what you want, it's maybe what you need. And so I decided to look at the property. It was 2-story. It was a residential building, but in Georgia you can open a residential area as a business, a licensed business. And so I said, okay. And I made an offer full price. On that I just said, okay, this cannot go on. And I bought this piece of property. Voila. The beginning of my aid and help to Black women in the Deep South started. I brought workers from Miami because it's very hard to find workers in Georgia and they take forever. So I brought my workers from Miami, and we built a very beautiful, elegant clinic in the property in Noonan in Georgia. And the rest became history. And so I then advertised and said to everybody, I have a clinic in Noonan in Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta. I specialize in Black skin. And all the people that come to see me are 98% Black. People started to flock to my clinic from Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, the Carolinas, Virginia, North Florida, like Tallahassee, up there. And eventually, people started to fly to Atlanta. People would come from Texas, Arizona, New Orleans, Virginia, New York, New Jersey. So people would fly to see me when it was farther up in America. And anything like Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, North Florida, South Carolinas, people will drive to see me. It is much cheaper to arrive in Atlanta by flight than to arrive in Miami, because Miami is lower and farther away. And it is much easier to arrive by car. So sometimes people drive 7 hours to come to me. But it is well worth it, because they see me once every 5 weeks for laser hair removal. And I treat Black women from all over, and some Black men, that suffer from unwanted facial hair, that suffer from discoloration. And people come to see me. I travel. So up to COVID, I used to fly from Fort Lauderdale. I used to fly for the weekend, treat people, and then fly Sunday night back. But when COVID happened, I could no longer fly. I wouldn't fly. It was just a principle of mine. And I started to drive. And since COVID, I drive. Since April, I drive every 5 weeks. From Miami, I drive 1,400 miles. I drive back and forth to Georgia to treat women and men in my Noonan location. And this is why I'm coming to you, and this is why I'm sharing with you the information. Because there is nobody in the United States that has the knowledge, that has the expertise, that has the experience that I have. And I am doing everything I can to help Black women wherever I can with this condition, because they have no voice. Because in Alabama or in Mississippi, you don't have a doctor that understands that PCOS on a black woman causes XYZ. In the deep south, you don't have doctors that understand that even if you do a testosterone test and your testosterone test doesn't show very, very high, it's still elevated. They will say, poo-poo, don't worry about it, it will go away, go do electrolysis. They don't understand that there is something called free-floating testosterone, and that free-floating testosterone is something that can completely change the picture, but you will never find it in blood work if you are not looking for it. And 99.9% no doctor in America, when they do blood work, look for free-floating testosterone. What is free-floating testosterone? It's a testosterone that happens during 3 days prior to your period. Free-floating testosterone, if you have an imbalance, will shoot up 2,000 times higher than the normal level of your testosterone. And it only happens for a few days. But the 2,000% higher that shoots up for 3 days is enough to supply the hair follicles for the whole month with excessive testosterone. But when a doctor does blood work and they test you for progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, and the regular testosterone is up by 25%, 30%, nothing terrible, they say, okay, don't worry. Never mind that you have a full beard and you have a 5 o'clock shadow at 2 o'clock that you have to shave, because they don't know. They also don't know, a lot of doctors in the deep south and in rural areas, not because they are racist. That's not the case. The reason that majority of doctors don't know how to treat a black woman, how to treat black women with hormonal imbalances in rural areas, for a very simple reason. And just listen to me. A doctor graduates school. He graduates with $500,000 in loans, in debt. Every doctor wants to get a job, but there are not that many prime cosmopolitan cities that can give a job to a doctor in Atlanta, in Miami, in New York, in Manhattan. It just doesn't happen. There's not that many spaces. But rural areas is a different story. So they push doctors that graduated school into rural areas. And then these guys, like, what does a guy that graduated from school, became a doctor, what does he know about PCOS? What does he know about black skin? And here is what I am explaining you, why it is so important, and I talk to you why it is so important that you know that you have a voice. Because I will ask you, how much at medical school do they teach medical doctors about black skin? Is there a course? Is there a curriculum? Zero. How much do they teach about vitamins and supplements and alternative medicine? Maybe in 8 years, you get a 3-month course, a general course about vitamins. So the point is that they don't teach you. And so when a student becomes a doctor, he graduates, he wants a job. So they send them to the rural areas. What does he know? He knows very little. He graduated school. It's the same equation I make. If you have a doctor that, if you have a lawyer that graduated law school 4 years, would you have a criminal case or any case, let a lawyer that graduated school come and defend you? Or would you want a lawyer that is 20, 30 years an attorney? Obviously, you would want a lawyer that is 20, 30 years attorney. Hold on. Gambino, stop. So you would want a lawyer that is, and that's the same thing with a doctor. So a young doctor, a graduate of school, knows zero, and therefore they cannot help you. And they cannot help you, and the women have absolutely no recourse, no resources, they don't know, and they go through life and make horrible life choices. Because ask yourself this, you're a young black woman, you're 14, you're 16, you have PCOS, now you have endometriosis, you gained already 40 pounds. And you have hair. What do? The first thing you do, you pluck. What happens to a black woman when she plucks? You pluck, You pinch your skin. What happens to a pinched skin? It gets discoloration. What happens when you pluck or start waxing? You get ingrown hairs. What happens when you get ingrown hairs? They start growing in. What happens? You get discoloration. Why? Because an ingrown hair creates inflammation. Inflammation, black skin, creates discoloration. And it becomes a vicious cycle. By the time you reach 18 or 19, you have a full beard and you are shaving every day and you are plucking and you have to put half a kilo of foundation to cover it up. And you became now 100 pounds or 150 pounds overweight. Remember, misery likes company. And when you become overweight and you have a full beard of hair, what life choices can you make? What man wants to sleep with a girl and kiss a girl that has a full beard? What man wants to go to bed with a girl that is 150 pounds overweight and he has to look for the vagina? No man. No man. There are men that are on the spectrum of being really not good people, and they will pray, and women will make choices with men that are not right for them because of their external. And here I come into the picture, and here I come and say, no, you deserve the best, you deserve better, and there is a choice, and there is a place that you can go. Or if you cannot come to see me in Miami and in Georgia, find a place, find somebody that is qualified to learn how to know how to treat black skin, and start YAG laser hair removal, start skin lightening treatment, start doing things that will improve your self-esteem, that will change. Start losing weight because you will be taught how to eat, and you will see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you will understand that it will better your life. And so my 13, 14 years that I do this and I speak publicly is because I want to change for the better. As a woman, as a mother, I want to change women's life all over the world for the better. And with my knowledge and my experience, I am doing this. And as a matter of fact, I'm not a teacher. I never want to be a teacher. But so many estheticians and skincare specialists and people in the medical field said, Eva, why don't you share your knowledge? And so I composed a course, which actually was just about to be published, or they published it, for doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, specialists, skincare specialists, anybody that is licensed, to buy my course about black skin and learn how to treat black skin, so that I can give the baton to other people and my knowledge, and so that this can spread all over America and all over the world, and people can learn from me and then continue my process of treating black skin. And I will close with this. Black skin is very beautiful, but black skin is very complicated and very complex. Treating black skin versus white skin is very different. Lasers for black skin are very different for lasers for white skin, completely different. Lightening treatments for discoloration on white or Hispanic skin is very different than lightening treatments for black skin. I created lightening treatments to be 27 years, lightening treatments for black skin. I created 30 years ago glycolic acid and lightening treatments for white skin. And I sold it all over Europe, where I come from, to hospitals, to doctors, to clinics, to pharmacies. But it took me 27 years to come up with a formula for black skin, and I eventually did. And I have a formula for lightening black skin. But nothing, when it comes to black skin, can be done fast. Because black skin is so tender and so sensitive insofar that it responds immediately even to a mosquito bite, that treating black skin, so lightening, so skincare treatments, facials, and so laser hair removal has to be done slowly, gradually, with the right products and with the right equipment. So this is what I wanted to say. If you have any questions, please respond here. If you want to talk to me, if you want to ask me a question, my telephone number is 305-864-3333. I absolutely thank you for taking the time to listen to me. But more than thank you, I hope from the bottom of my heart that I am going to save lives, and I'm going to make lives better for a lot of black women and black men after you listen to this. And if you think that it is valid, you share this between your friends and you make other people's lives better by knowing that there is a way out and there is a solution, and no black woman has ever to walk around with a man's beard and make bad solution because she looks bad. Thank you, thank you. Bye-bye, Eva.